This is where the fun begins.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to my channel. And today we are doing the literature review, and I'm going to change a little bit of my intro and outro videos where it doesn't say Legends, but says Talking EU. So I think I made that little executive decision on doing that instead of like having it as Legends. And so that's my intro, and welcome again, everyone. We are reviewing Revan, and I do have a couple panelists here with Miss Martin Muses. Hello, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm doing great. Doing great, though. I'm completely, absolutely devastated and heartbroken after the ending of this book. But besides that, I'm doing fantastic.
I know we were talking about it a little bit behind scenes here. And, we're like, oh, my God, that's so tragic. So we'll get to that. And then we have Rev Kev. Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing very good. Trying to stay warm up here in cold Canada today, but
wow.
doing great.
Yes, and we were talking about a little bit about the weather too as well. And I'm like, it's about 90, like low 90s, and he's like, it's 41 degrees here.
And snowing yesterday.
Yeah, so a little bit of that there, but it looks like we have a great panel here today, and we have people trickling in, and we have Tim, our open airlock policy, said he'll be listening in and popping in the chat during this review, and it would have been great to have you with us, but I know and understand that there's other obligations that you must, commit to, so that's fine. And we have Zagharat 315. Howdy, Tim, and howdy to you, Zagharat, and I'm glad you're here with us. And also Lady Toriel, which if you read the book, you are always welcome to come in and, participate in the review and discussion of Revan. All right. And then we have Raging Rhino. Hello. Welcome to Literature Review. Revan, I'm reading this book. Awesome. Yes, it's a great book. There's gonna be a lot of spoilers in here. So if you're currently reading it, then it's your choice to stay or not stay, but I'd welcome you to stay if you don't care. And then, of course, let's see here. We have the Snorta Popus, Cubar. I think I always butcher that. But hello, humans and other critters, and hello to you. And let's see here. It's 5 a.m. I'll be lurking till I sleep. Oh, yes. You need to get some sleep, darling. Yes. But thank you for coming in as well. All right. So when I start reading something or reviewing something, I go back and see and trace back where, like if the new canon has ever taken arcs or stories or anything from these, from the original lore into theirs. And we know that, Revan's name was used for the Sith cultist fleet. That's just what it is. And they're kind of shoehorning in Revan in there, but it doesn't fit pertaining to, the wars that he has gone through in these books compared to what they're developing in their new lore. So, there's a little disconjoint there. And I think once we go through this review, we'll talk a little bit more of even like Teresa was pointing out, that there are some things that they've taken into the new lore, which really makes it just misplaces it. It feels forced to me when they do that. It really does, because it's not the same character. Thrawn's not the same character.
Right.
Not
a dang thing. And so here we have the author is Drew Karpyshyn. And of course, it's a Del Rey book published in 2011. So that's when the hardcover came out. That came out first. And then 2012 is when the regular novel came out. And then the timeline is like 3954 BBY. So, with that time frame there. And the worlds visited is right here listed. We have Coruscant. We have Bos Theta, and Dromod Kos, Helion, Nathema, and Rakaid. So some of these are very similar if you guys might have read them in other novels and stuff. And then the main characters, of course, Revan, Lord Scrooge, or Scourge. I was going to say Scrooge.
It's a Christmas carol.
Lord Scrooge.
Lord Scrooge, yeah. Just
humbug.
And then Mitra. And we also have Candora's Ord. So that's, the Mandalorian part of this. And we'll discuss a little bit of the Mandalorian stuff as well. And then Darth Nyrus, Darth Zedrix, and Bastilla Shaw. See, I can read Zedrix, but I can't read Scourge. Oh my God.
Would be a good Sith name, I'm sure.
Darth Scrooge.
It fits.
That would be like another Christmas special.
Yeah, exactly.
based in the Old Republic. Darth Scrooge. All right. So then we have Emperor Vitate. So we have some interesting characters here. And if you guys know about Vitate, you know exactly, he's basically what you call immortal. And we'll get into that as well. So let's see here. And then Tim is joining us. Look at that. Hello. And he says, haven't read my OR stories other than the TOTJ comics. Let's see here. And hell, I haven't read this book. Everyone says the book is terrible because of how the exile is treated. And honestly, it does sound really bad what happens to her. All right, so let's get into the book here because we will go ahead and, discuss this, everything. So within the beginning of the book, we have the introduction of the Siths and Lord Scourge. And, and basically it basically introduces the Emperor, who is Vitate, and the 12 Dark Council. So what you guys think about that? Like reading about how the Sith was forming during that time.
Well, I thought it was interesting because it was obviously different from what we saw in the Darth Bane, because that happens much, much later.
Like 2,000 years later or something like
Was I the only one that was incredibly distracted every time they said Dark Council? I was thinking, I was waiting for Mark with a C to show up. and drunk 3PO.
Exactly.
And Abu Nas.
Where is everybody?
It's like, where's Fatal J? Like, we're going to be in the Dark Council. It's like, on Tuesday nights?
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Yeah, I thought about that a little bit. I was like, oh, okay. We know probably where the Dark Council got their name from this. Probably, maybe. Maybe they're inspired by that. We're gonna have to ask that question.
Maybe they were, or maybe it's just a coincidence. But either way, it was hilarious through the whole book. I just would see all their little faces popping up. They're like, "Oh my gosh, what's the Dark Council gonna think about this?" And the Emperors, we must stop the Dark Council.
Oh my God, that's hilarious. I know. That's crazy. So so we get that. As we read throughout the Old Republic, we get the evolution of the Sith and stuff. And this was years after, basically with Revan, years after returning back from the dark side to save the galaxy from the Starforge crisis. And he is now rehabilitated back as a Jedi Knight who has married Bastilla Shaw. So we have that marriage, and reading this, it's like they frowned, they allowed it. But this is how he was treated for the fact that he married, Bastilla. And so what do you guys think about the marriage? What do you think about that during that time? It being like, what, how many years? Like 3,900 years before the PT or something like that?
Yeah, I actually found it the first couple of chapters, I had to kind of reread those chapters.
Okay.
Only because I had no experience of the Old Republic. Like, I've read nothing from the Old Republic before. I've never played the video games, never read the comic books. So it felt very rushed at the beginning, because it kind of assumed there's some stuff that you probably know from something else.
Yeah.
So I was so I was kind of like, who are these people? What's going on? So I kind of had to, I got to about chapter 3 and I said, you know what, I'm just going to start over and go through it again. Just to make sure I got what was going on. So, so that actually really helped. So then, because I did find it was coming at me a little fast at the beginning.
If you didn't have experience with the game, you're coming in, and the game is what you call quasi-canon, if you want to go ahead and go back to those terms that used to be. And so like how you played it and how you built your Revan character, because back then it was a clean slate. You can build him as a female, a male, what have you. But once the novel novel came out, so everybody got stuck with their preference on what they wanted for their main character, right? So once the book came out and it established Revan as the canon character, male at that too, some people weren't very happy with that.
Right.
You know, and like some of the characters too, because Mitra, she was the exile, or you know, and many people weren't happy with that as well, like her name being revealed, or being able to or you know, not be able to create another character, or be stuck, you know, use your own character. You know, her character came out as canon as we see in the book here, and so a lot of people didn't care for that either. So I thought it was very interesting how, you know, one can be attached to a game, you know, a game where you can create your own character out of the main character. And then the novel comes out and it says, boom, this is what it really is. And so there's a lot of, you know, detachment from those who really love the game versus the book.
Sure. And that makes a lot of sense, because if you play the game and you get quite invested in the character, so that actually speaks to the quality of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Guess I'm gonna have to play it now.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I felt I felt in many cases as I was reading that, especially at the beginning, it's like, dang it, I probably should have played the game, because there was so much world building and so many things they were referencing. And I think he was really doing a good job of trying to fill us all in on it. But I just was feeling like I was missing something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, like people are telling me, you need to play the game. You need to play the game. And right now I don't have time to play any games. In fact, I've been playing Dark Forces, but I had to put it down because I'm finishing up my degree. So my focus is, you know, just doing a little bit for my channel right now. And I'm getting this degree done. I graduate May 26th. I got my date. So I'm excited.
Yay.
Nice.
And so people are like, oh, you need to play KOTOR, you need to play KOTOR, blah, 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 blah. You know, and I'm like, I'm kind of glad I'm doing it the opposite, because then I get to read about the canon Revan before I play. So
yeah.
Good point. Yeah.
Yeah, and then you won't have that kind of discord in your brain when you actually play. That's a good point.
Yeah. And I understand it was such a very popular game. Everybody loved it. I mean, it's like thousands of years before we get into, you know, Anakin and the Emperor and the Rule of Two, or like, you know, within that era, that we got to see, like, you know, a lot of Sith evolution, and, you know, it's Jedi too, but I think everybody was wanting and craving Sith evolution, because we never got it. We got more or less somewhat of a Jedi evolution, you know, within the overall lore. So once we got into the Knights of the Old Republic, we got to see a lot more. And that we even got to see a lot more Mandalorian evolution as well.
Right.
So, yeah. So we have the real Kim Shady here. This book is so good, although I understand some of the contention points with this book. People either love this book or hate it. Yeah, exactly. And that's what I was noticing too. You know, and then we just like what 2 weeks ago we got that that hashtag about, you know, who is Revan or whatever.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
I was like,
everyone having nervous breakdowns.
Yeah, you know, and stuff. So I was like, oh my God, these people here, just, you know, go ask someone about it. Go do your research, you know, pick up the friggin' book instead of bitching and complaining about shit. Oh, sorry.
Hey, it's your channel. You can say what you
gotta do.
That's how I felt about that. I'm like, come on, people, be real here, you know, and it's just what it is, you know. So this is Magnino. Okay, hello. I think I said that right. Sorry about that if I didn't. I just finished that a bit ago. Good. I'm glad. And now you don't have any I'm undeceived. Oh, yes, the next one in the order. And then I was okay with it. The ambiguity wasn't going to last forever. Yeah. So I mean, like there's the attachment to the game that really made people, you know, like it or hate it. So let's see here. And it says, I really enjoyed the novel. I played both games, though nothing really bothered me. And then, yeah, there's that even kill, you know, because when you look back in history, back in before the buyout and stuff, you know, we knew the games because George wanted everybody to get an experience of being a Jedi or being a Sith or whatever, experiencing the lore, but also within their own eyes. And so that's why there was a lot of like, that's why they were considered, somewhat canon, because how you played it wasn't how it really happened in canon, because it gave you your own personal experience. And I think that's what George wanted, is give everybody their own personal experience within that time frame of that game. So I think it was brilliant. So yeah. All right. So so we have Revan, because of his memory loss, so he doesn't have all of his memory back after he got redeemed and stuff. And I believe that's when Bastilla basically took him in and helped him from the dark side, and so he lost some of his memory. And so he's on his search for recovering his memories. And, he does have nightmares that he can't really pin down just yet. And he also has, his friend Candor's Ord, basically a Mandalorian who helped him. I think he helped him fight in the Mandalorian Wars, right? The Mandalorian War they had. Yeah. And then his friend, or his astromech droid T3M4, is helping him retrace his steps before his fall, to see if he can stir some recollection. So basically he is trying to recover his memory and stuff. So what you guys think about that? About that little bit of him, like, okay, I need to retrace, I need to get my thoughts back, beforehand. This little journey that he's on that also impacts a lot of the story.
Mm-hmm. I actually thought that was a really great way, again, for someone who didn't have experience with the Old Republic or with Knights or the video game again. It was a great way to actually introduce the character, because I didn't have any, so just like Revan, I didn't have the memory of the other stuff.
You're like, so I can relate to him.
Well, yeah, so it actually made it cool. As he's learning it, I'm learning it. So I was like, okay, this is pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, good point.
Yeah.
Well, and it makes complete sense, especially if he's having all these weird nightmares. It's almost, maybe it's the Force leading him there too.
Yeah, right. A little bit of Force, like the will of the Force, I guess you can say, if we want to call it that. Yeah, and I really, really like your point about that, Rev, too, because, if you haven't played the game, then you're going on a discovery with him, and I think it was a great way of Drew, helping people who probably are not familiar with the games as well understand the character, and going on this arc to like catch him up with everything that's gone on with him.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think maybe, I think that's a great point. And I think, maybe that, and I'm not saying that was Drew's focus, but I think it was, even if he did it on purpose or not, I think it was brilliant.
Yeah. No, it really helped me a lot. So I really enjoyed that part of it. Yeah. And it kind of made the character a little bit different than anything else I've read before. Kind of here you got this Jedi who comes back from the dark side, but he's like a blank slate.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought that was cool. Like, who is he? Well, he's got his new life, got his wife, she's pregnant, trying to figure out who he's supposed to be in the galaxy now. Mm-hmm. So I thought that made him really interesting.
Yeah, and then his banter with the Jedi librarian when he went to go do some research was crazy, because how she treated him, because he went dark and then he was redeemed, and she still didn't trust. I'm echoing again, and oh, damn it. Okay. So, and then he's chastising him on how, his relationship with Mitra, and then him being married and stuff like that. So I thought that was very interesting, to say the least.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what do you guys think about that banter between those two?
Yeah. Again, I thought it was cool. It kind of showed a little bit of the pride and arrogance of the Jedi that you hear about in lots of different other contexts.
Yes.
So it wasn't a new thing. It's been around for thousands of years, that problem.
Yeah. Well, and so what else is new over the sun? Under the sun, that's something else I kind of got from that. Whenever you have where two or more are gathered, there will be drama.
Yes.
to borrow that scripture verse, or there will be arrogance.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and then she of course we know that she's a Jedi Knight or whatever master, the librarian, and so she has that staunchiness that we see in a lot of, I think, until you get to Tion Salusar, a lot of that stuck up, like I know better than you kind of feeling.
Yeah.
That we've seen, like even in the PT we've seen that too.
Yeah, well, it's like you're a subpar Jedi, right?
Yeah,
like doesn't matter how powerful you actually are and what you actually accomplished. But because you went to the dark side, well, how good of a Jedi could you really be?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
A little too much pointing fingers, judging a little too much instead of looking within, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. And if it wasn't the will of the Force, and I guess I'll use that again, then and for people to be redeemed in a sense, then it wouldn't really happen, I guess you could say. Maybe that's just probably my logic with it, because we've seen it before.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. All of this has happened before, and it will happen again.
Yeah.
Exactly. So do you hear me echoing, or is it just me?
Yes, ma'am.
Just a little tiny bit. I don't find it that bad on my end, but it's just a little bit there.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and unplug my mic and plug it back in. Hold on.
Well,
and she disappears.
Yeah, I was gonna say. I was thinking, oops, better.
That's usually what happens in these moments.
Yeah, hello, I'm here.
There
Do
you
you
go.
see me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
All right, so this is fun stuff. Oh, okay, I'm still echoing. You're just
an echoing person. Here, I'm going to mute myself just in case.
Okay, I unplugged my mic. You guys can still hear me, right?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, it's my turn to have difficulties.
Yeah, I finally solved all my problems, my mic problems. Yeah, it's just
my turn, and I hardly have this problem. But now and then one of us has to have the problem, right?
Yeah,
that's the way the internet works.
Yes,
I'm a little. My mind's now wandered a bit, but I think I was just ripping off a quote from Battlestar Galactica. But beyond that, we were talking about the arrogance of the Jedi.
Yeah.
And the arrogance in general. And even with some of that judgmentalism, a little bit about him marrying herself, that I kind of liked that he did that, because it showed that some of the stuff that happened in the prequel trilogy didn't just come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Because I remember having that feeling in Attack of the Clones, because we'd always just assumed Jedi married and had families until George decided to do what he was doing in Attack of the Clones and then in Revenge of the Sith. So I think it was nice the way Drew tied that in as well.
Yeah.
Good point.
Yeah, exactly. So we get introduced to Scourge and Darth Nihilus. So basically within the Sith Empire and the Dark Council, and she's Darth
Fatal J.
Yes, Darth Nihilus is a part of the Dark Council, and she summons Lord Scourge. I was going to say Scrooge again because I can't read.
And now it's in your head, so it's never going to go anywhere. So
yeah,
to find who is responsible for the attempt of her life. Scourge's investigation finds proof that Lord Zedrix, again, I can read Zedrix with the Z's or the X's, but that, okay. Also, Dark Counselor is conspiring against the Empire, who with separatists. So we have separatists, with separatists on Bastrida. Scourge kills Zedra. So basically, we see Scourge going, like Nihilus telling him to go talk to Zedrix about the events going on. And Zedrix basically supposed to be really, really powerful. And again, we have the actual Sith species. So Scourge. It's gonna haunt me and plague me from now on. Darth Scrooge. So if I say Darth Scrooge, you know who I'm talking about.
There we go.
Yeah, just go ahead and call him Scrooge.
Understood. Yeah.
So he's an actual full blood Sith. So this is when the Sith are still, we do have mixed breeds and stuff. So when the humans started, breeding with the Sith and stuff. So these are the full actual species, and so he's a full blood. So so I thought that was interesting that we eventually they start breeding out, and there's no more full blood Sith, but their culture and their culture and everything still lives on, and so we get the Sith only a name and in, I guess you could say, culture, than in actual species as we go on in the timeline.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting that it was actually a species and not something else.
Exactly. And so when Scourge goes to kill Zedrix, they have, he at first Zedric's like, I am this all powerful and I could take you out. And then Scourge basically says, finally realizes, is this person, because he does, you basically hit him with force lightning, and
Right.
and then finally he realizes, is he just bullshitting me? And so he called the bluff.
Yeah.
And then he did actually call the bluff, and that's where he starts taking control of the situation. So I thought that was interesting, and it shows the in-depth of how the Sith, even back in the time when we still had the full-bloods, we still had this actual species Sith, how they fought within each other and within their societies to gain control.
Yeah. Well, and it was very cool, because just imagine like an entire empire where the whole leadership of it is constantly backstabbing one another.
Yes.
It's like, my goodness, like just who's manipulating who and who's manipulating this person and trying to take advantage of that person. Like it's like this giant cosmic game happening constantly.
Yeah.
And you never know who's ready to stab you in the back. It's just crazy.
It's kind of like real politics. Yeah,
almost.
But also it shows that's what they go into later with the Darth Bane thing about how he came up with this whole rule of two, because with the Sith philosophy where they're actually embracing it, and that's just what you're supposed to be, you're just being a good Sith seeking power and control, it is unstable.
Exactly. You could never truly rule. You could never truly win.
Yeah. So Sonia Saxon says, no retirement plans in the Sith Empire. Laugh out loud. Nope.
That's right. Nope.
Plan basically is death.
You're dead, you're done. There you go.
That's when you retire. So you either, stay alive cunningly and stuff like that, trying to gain more power, or once you become a threat and someone wants to take your place, you're dead. Basically.
Pretty simple retirement plan. You don't have to do any savings, no retirement plan. It's kind of good. Makes it a little easier to plan for it.
Yeah, and that even goes with the rule of two, because, once someone wants to advance, they have to kill their master, right?
That's it.
Yeah, and then if your apprentice ends up killing you, then that means that you were a successful master.
I know. Man, like, you did a good job. You replaced yourself. Good job.
Well done. Yeah, exactly. So you don't get mad when you get killed. It's like, hey, well done, my apprentice. And
so you sacrifice your life for that. So that I guess you can go down successful, I guess you can say, in the rule of two, because your apprentice beat you and took your spot. So you shouldn't complain about that kind of retirement then.
Nope.
All right. Oh, the chat. I love the chat. They just pull off into another area. All right. So we have that. And so Zedric does get killed. And, Scourge basically, then it goes back to Myrus. And he doesn't trust her. But again, when you're in a Sith society and stuff, I'm sorry, you're not going to trust anybody, and so they have their little talk. And basically Nyrus is, concerned about the Emperor Vitate. And so is Scourge. And so that goes deeper into the story here. And I think it's rather interesting, that little development. So, and then we go back to Ordo and Revan and T3 as they voyage to the icy planet Rakide aboard the freighter Ebenhawk. The icy planet is the current home of the nomadic Mandalorian clans. Visions of the past help Revan find basically the items he hid years ago during the Mandalorian's mask, basically.
And right now the Mandalorians are like, we don't know what to do with ourselves, the Mandalorians, because the mask is gone, it's missing, and we don't have no leadership. So they're in limbo right now. So this is very different than the Mandalorians that we see in the current times, that like within like the PT and on forward past that. And so their leadership and their structure relies on who holds the mask. And so what do you guys think about that?
Well, that's one of those parts where I got distracted because I'm like, oh, so that's where they ripped it off with the whole dark saber, passing it down and making you the Mandalorian leader or something to that effect.
Yeah.
On the other hand, for the original lore, I thought that was kind of cool.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And so
I agree, because I thought it was interesting too. Again, it was a completely different take on the Mandalorian culture than, like you said, what we've been seeing in shows like The Mandalorian, or even or some of the things that were hinted at in the movies as well. Like I was kind of trying to figure out, like, where's all the Beskir armor? Like, are they armored? Because you picture Mandalorians in your brain now being one way, and then you kind of go, hey, there's no armor here. Like, they're not all suited up.
Yeah. And
so
the Tong
that was cool.
Yeah, the Tong are the original, I guess you could say, Mandalorians, and they were from Coruscant, and then they, I guess you could say, were kicked off. There was conflict, and they left, and they found the planet which they call Mandalore, and and then from there they started creating art. They had armor and stuff, and then so that's where the leadership of the mask is from there. And then over time we see that starts evolving into something different. And then, there's no item pertaining to leadership, like a mask or a sword, until you get into the Clone Wars. So once you get into the Clone Wars, you have that dark saber, which, was kind of off for some people with that, regards to that with the Mandalorians and the passive culture. And then after you're done with the Clone Wars, there's no dark saber anymore. It goes back to just what the Mandalorians, how their customs and all of that, and their culture and their Rezonari, has for the Mandalorian culture.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a little bit off. This mask thing, there was like a little bit of evolution there. But then to go with the evolution of the mask, then into the culture where they choose their Mandalore. And then also, bam, there's a dark saber, because written in Clone Wars. And so I thought that was a little bit off, because there was no like true evolution. But then they had to go back and correct and retrack and retrace that. So I thought that was kind of weird.
Exactly.
So, but that's my little thing on that. So, and so basically, we get to let's see here. I read my book, my novel. I had everything. And Stig, if you're listening, I didn't write in it. I just used sticky notes. I won't get in trouble. But my actual Revan book, I placed sticky notes on points that I wanted to touch bases on, and it's in my other vehicle, which is not home right now. So I'm going off the Reader's Companion. So bear with me. So if we miss any valid points or any points like the panel wants to talk about, go ahead and bring it up. Or if anybody in the chat wants to discuss, then go ahead and bring that up. So yeah. Let's see here. And let's go ahead and check out the chat. It is hard to believe the Sith were so successful with the amount of betrayal amongst themselves. Yeah, kind of in a way. Over time, they started realizing, and when we get to Bane, started realizing that they weren't going to get anywhere with offing each other all the damn time.
Yeah, you can only go so far. The house divided just keeps crashing in on itself.
Exactly.
And then so we get this, the Dark Council basically, and the 12 people, Sith of the Dark Council, and then we go into the Brotherhood of Darkness, the Rule of Two, then we go all the way to the One Sith. So we have those evolution of the Sith, which I think is very interesting to even I should do a video on the evolution of Sith. That sounds very interesting. I think
that would be cool.
Yeah. Oh my God. Okay.
Oh yeah. That's okay. Everyone rip off that idea. Do it before she does.
Won't be as good as hers.
Yeah, so we have that evolution of Sith, so I find it very interesting. And just to kind of just go into the PT a little bit, when you read Revenge of the Sith book, because the book covers a lot more, and it is a very great reader's companion to the movie. Yoda does say that he failed to evolve the Jedi. The Sith studied the Jedi culture and stuff, and they evolved, and from their evolution, they also studied, like I said, the Jedi. So they were able to defeat the Jedi because of that. But the Jedi were so stuck in their ways, and Yoda recognized he was training the Jedi to defeat Sith that were like 1,000 years ago, like when he was trained.
Right.
That he failed to evolve them, and so I thought that was very, very interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So because we see no evolution here, because they're still frowning upon marriage and stuff.
Yeah. Well, exactly. They could have solved all of their problems if they would have handled Anakin a lot differently.
Mm-hmm.
But they were still, like you said, handling it in a way that just didn't work anymore.
Yeah, exactly.
Though I happen to look at Anakin in the way that if it wasn't those particular situations, it could very well have been something else if it was something within him, because everyone has things that are crap that happen in their childhood. Everyone has things that are crap, whether you're not allowed to marry or the person you love marries someone else, whatever it is. So maybe they would have solved it, or maybe it would have been something else that would have made Anakin fall.
It would have to be something else still, like something, So, I mean, but that just shows that the failure of the evolution, the failure of allowing the Jedi to evolve with the galaxy. So I thought that was a very interesting point. So, okay, so we kind of went off on a little wayward side there. So, but let's get back to this. So, Revan recalls the Mandalore of the Ultimate revealed to him that he had been corrupted and betrayed by the Sith Lord, who promised a successful campaign. So we're getting into that Mandalorian Sith, kind of deal here, because the Sith used the Mandalorians to help try to defeat the Republic. So Revan returns the mask to the Mandalorians. So they go to that planet. And when they first get there, Canderous, is reunited with his love, and we didn't, at first I was like, there has to be a relationship. And finally, but she was very like rude to him and stuff. And then finally Canderous is like, oh yeah, that's my other half basically. And so there's that interesting relationship, but they were keeping Revan's identity hidden. And what did they give? What name did they give? I didn't write it down. Like I said, it's marked in the book, not marked, but it's in the book on a note, sticky pad. What was his name that they called him during that time frame? Because remember, the Mandalorians hate the Jedi because of the war and all that.
Yeah, they just switched the letters around in his name. Yes,
like Navrin or something like that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, something.
I have to find it.
Avner. I thought it was Navrin, but Avner or something like that. And so they thought they were brilliant. They're like, oh, we'll just call you Avner, and so on. And so they go in there, and the purposes was to retrace his tracks, find the Mandalorian mask, and and I guess you could say Revan had faith in returning the mask to the Ord clan, to Canderous. And, and that goes further into the story, and we'll break that down here soon. Mm-hmm. But they return, and he's basically undercover, I guess you could say. But it didn't fool the Mandalorians, especially Canderous's wife, I guess you could say, or the other half.
Right.
And they make their venture, and he's like slowly remembering, like he's kind of like, when things are given to him that had to do something with his past, his memory starts, and I guess it's through the Force, starts connecting and reconnecting, I guess you can say. So they trail up to the area where he hid the mask, and finally finds it. And as he's holding it, he's getting his memory back.
Yes, that was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and he's getting his memory back. He's seeing everything, and finally, he's getting ready to give it to Canderous, and she comes in with the rest. And see, they all go together. There's like a small group that goes together up there. And she finally comes in, and she's like, get your scrubby hands off that Jedi. She's not fooled.
Yeah.
She's not fooled with him, with their deception and stuff. And she goes, you're Revan, basically, and reveals who he is and stuff. And he's like, let's just move on. let's just give the helmet, away. Let's leave here. But she can't let go of the past, basically. And she wants to go ahead and, try to kill Revan for his atrocities during the war and stuff. So that was very interesting because you start to get a little bit more of the Jedi Mandalorian, like distrust and hatred of each other, I guess you could say, or the Mandalorian hatred towards Jedi.
Right.
So I thought that was very interesting. What do you think about that, Teresa?
Well, they come by it honestly, don't they?
They do. They do.
Yeah. No, I mean, I just love the way that it goes into it all, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then after, and they had to kill her. So basically, and they're like, okay, what do we do now? What do we say to the rest of the clan when we return and they don't return? Because it turns out to be a battle in there.
Yeah.
And Candace, stayed on Revan's side for this, and he eventually becomes the Mandalorian, the Mandalorian protector, or protector Mandalore, or something like that. I forget the title name, but yeah, so they have to kill her and they leave them. And then he's like, we'll just say that, we came upon some, conflict, some enemies and stuff, and that they died in battle. So they're still keeping their honor.
Yeah.
So I thought that was good.
Yeah, that was completely in character with who they are and, not being douchebags about it,
Yeah, and Shane Nolan says that's one way to get a divorce.
Yes.
That's one way.
You don't get busted, I guess.
It's a cheaper way.
Yeah. And then Soul Assassin, Jedi sure like to make enemies. Mandalorian, Sith, and each other laugh out loud.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And so from there, we see Revan. He does have his flashbacks. Some of his memories come back from touching the Mandalorian mask. And so that takes him off to Nathema. And I think I skipped. I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't have my novel in front of me. It's not home right now. It's on its own adventure right now. And so when did he send that message to because I know before he took off on this adventure to recover his memory, and he's like, I have something to tell you. And Bastilas basically says, I have something that's more important to tell you. And he's like, yeah, right. I don't believe you. And then she's like, guess what? I'm pregnant. And he's like, oh, I guess that was more important.
Yes.
Right.
And then later on, she receives she sends a message to T3 to Revan with him and her child, or her and her child, basically. So I know I'm probably skipping way ahead. So
yeah, because that happened when he goes to the original Sith planet that's been annihilated, and he gets captured there. And so T3 then goes home in the ship because he doesn't know where to go. So so she tells him before he leaves on this adventure of rediscovering and also trying to defeat the Sith and stuff, that she's pregnant and stuff. And so he's out here. He's like, I want to make the galaxy safe for my wife and my child. Right.
And so that's his mission.
So sad.
I know. It's just like heart's already melting already. She's like, oh my God. All right, so a little bit backtracking there, but anyways, I'm echoing again. What the hell?
Your microphone hates you today, or your computer, or one of them.
It's my laptop. My main mic is unplugged. I'm using the computer mic now. Oh, wow, you son of a! All right, this is part of the entertainment. Make people laugh. It's fun. Yeah. All right. Hello, Cassie.
Oh, yeah. Can you hear it yet? Yay.
All right. So let's move on here. So basically, he now trails his memories to Nathema, the planet that Dartmouth, fled. So basically, now he goes from, that planet to the next. So he's going on his little journey here. And then we go back to Scourge, and who confronts Nyers about her plans, and she reveals the truth to him. She did indeed manipulate him to kill Zedrix, of course, because the Sith always have to betray each other somehow.
Yep.
And he was human, so he was dispensable.
Well, yeah, and then the Sith the actual Sith frowned on like the humans and the half-breeds, I guess you can say, because they see themselves as more powerful in the dark side of the Force than those humans who, and stuff. So they see themselves as superior to anybody else. So that's another thing you get in this book, is that you get a little bit of the true Sith culture and what they thought about other species. Which goes back to like how, if you haven't caught on yet with the OT and even some of the PT, but necessarily the OT, once Sidious becomes, the Emperor and stuff like that, he does have some xenophobic. He is xenophobic.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. So we see that. So that's maybe part of the culture that was kept from the Sith itself. And so I thought that was interesting because, the Emperor or Palpatine or Sidious or whatever, he used aliens, but he didn't care for them. So if they benefited him in some way, shape, or form, he tolerated. But more or less, he was very xenophobic. So that's what I noticed and stuff. And so basically, she had him kill Zedric, co-conspirator, and one of the several Dark Counselors plotting to stop the Emperor before the tyrant launches an ill-advised attack against the Republic. So this goes to Emperor Vitate. So basically, Emperor Vitate, if no one knows who he is, he's the one that's immortal. And he got his immortality by using Sith alchemy and draining the Force and the life from the planet he belongs to.
How convenient. I actually thought that was a little bit hokey. I didn't buy it. I love you, Drew, but no. That's just, in my humble opinion, ridiculous.
It's funny how that happened, but then that knowledge wasn't. And we have Plagueis who wants to become immortal. And so he's experimenting with midichlorians and, and making beings with more midichlorians and what have you. Yet, this bit of information was lost to them. Basically, that's how I see it.
Yeah. And that was the one part I liked about it, was that it seemed a little overpowered, absolutely, on how he did it. Yeah. But you knew someone did it.
Yeah,
like there was someone had unlocked immortality. So it was kind of cool to this was the one who had. So I did like that a lot, and how it kind of tied into the rest of the Sith that were trying to figure out that power.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I just had this whole thing. It's like, really, he did that in 1,000 years? Like, what the? And how is that knowledge lost? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, and I didn't have a chance to look it up all this time. That because I didn't look it up, but so it's like, I guess you can say a guess that it was lost, because we get to Plagueis and he's like trying to discover immortality, and so I think the next couple books after this may allude to that, because like I'm somewhat new. I know the lore a bit in the Old Republic era, but I haven't read through all the novels yet. So this is my weak part of the lore with my knowledge of the Old Republic, so I admit I do. And so I'm having fun discovering it.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if the rule of two kind of, helped to lose that. Like if he needed a whole conclave of Sith to be with him to accomplish what he did. Well, if there's only two of them, then you don't have those numbers to make that happen. So that was kind of the way I kind of looked at it too, was you shot yourself in the foot. The rule of two kind of prevents that power from ever happening again.
Yeah, exactly. And I think his name was Emperor Vitate, or whatever how you say it. I think he was also Tenebrae. His name was also Tenebrae.
Darkness.
So OG Star Wars finds out that Miss Martin uses really is a rose in a flower pot that somehow levitates when she comes over to her house. Joking.
Yeah, that's apparently my true appearance. That's why you only see a rose. This is actually how I truly look.
Yeah, and you're just like this radiating rose that just like levitates, all of that.
That's me.
Awesome. Yeah. Let's see here. All right. So Soul Assassin, there was a Sith in the Rule of Two who wanted light and destroyed most of the Sith knowledge that that's setting the Sith back. Yeah, that's what I figured, that along the way that information does get lost and stuff. And I know they did it. I know during the Darth Bane time they did the thought bubble, which trapped a lot of Jedi and Sith in there too. So there was a lot of within its own group. They have lost a lot of history because of the fact that they were killing each other.
Yeah.
Destroying stuff because one wanted the power only. So
exactly. The thought bomb. Everyone loved the thought bomb. Usually spelled THOT.
I love what you did there.
Oh, I wish I'd have come up with that, but no, that was
no, I know, but still,
it was the gang, Lethal and all them.
Oh yeah, I know. I think I seen that when they did that.
Yeah.
I could have traced it. It's easy to trace it back, especially to them.
Those Aussies.
Yeah, those Aussies. Oh yeah, and speaking of that, just a little segue here. Next Thursday, we're pausing between the comics, and I'm having Lethal Lightning on for a special live Talking EU for Coffee Chat, and we're going to discuss Jason Solo, and he has a very interesting theory there about Jason Solo doing nothing wrong. So this should be a fun talk. So if you guys want to hear his opinion and why he thinks Jason's decision turning into Darth Caedus is, what he thinks about that. He did no wrong with all of that. Then come and enjoy the conversation. So it should be fun.
Very cool.
And I'm excited just to get him into Talk EU anyways, because, he kind of like just stepped away fully from Star Wars for a while.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm excited about that.
Yay.
So I know. And Stig may or may not be on. He hasn't decided yet. So we may have Stig maybe on with as well. So if we have both of those guys on, oh my God, it's going to be crazy. And I look forward to it.
Good luck.
And then Matt Wilkins in the chat roasting them all.
Exactly. So always a fun time coffee chat is. And we have Soul Assassin thought bombs where can one learn that power? Oh my God. And then Bane's thought bomb created the Valley of the Jedi and the Dark Forces too, correct? Mm-hmm. And that's where we get Kyle Katarn's story. Mm-hmm. And he's the one that helps release them all. So I thought that was very interesting. There is continuity in Star Wars. Well, there was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not anymore.
Those were the days.
Yes, and we're staying in those days because it's where the heart of Star Wars is. And Ancient One, Steve Kenobi may be lurking in squirrel form, as I mentioned earlier. Yes. Fuzzy little squirrel here. Time for healing Lethal's Force connection. Yes. Yes. All right. So let's move on. So the Emperor is 1,000 years old, years old. So that's Vitate. In a dark side ritual, and this is what we mentioned here earlier, he drained the life of his home planet, Nathema, and that's where Revan is going, is to Nathema, to achieve immortality. The world is now lifeless, husk, devoid of the Force. So he basically drained life, basically the Force. And people don't realize that the Force is life in Star Wars. Like, so someone can still be very, someone can be Force sensitive, but not even strong enough to even harness it at all, so there's different levels of like how much Force, or midichlorians, and I'm gonna say that midichlorians one has in their ability to harness the Force, but the Force is living through everybody. So I thought that was interesting, like learning more about that. Scourge comes to understand. Oh, and that's so funny is that they were teasing this actual Sith. They're like, you guys are so boring, basically. You Sith just come up with these weird boring names. Someone was teasing about that. I forgot who it was. Maybe it was Nyrus, or I know Nyrus, she was Sith too, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Wasn't she the one that Scourge saw at the beginning?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And she ended up getting herself killed.
Yeah, she ended up getting her. Yeah. I think it was Zedrix, basically, like, you guys come up with these weird, boring names, you Sith, basically. And that just put more salt in the wounds between the two. So basically, Scourge came to understand that such power is madness. and the Emperor has lost all reason. While on Nathema, Scourge and Nyrus cross paths with Revan, who arrives aboard Ebon Hawk. Nyrus blasts Revan's ship out of the sky, and the Sith take Revan as prisoner. So we have that. So they're back at the Emperor's planet, and basically they don't. Once they get there, like Revan, when he gets into the atmosphere and into the planets, onto the planet, he realizes like it feels weird because there's no force there. Kind of like when Luke was on Merkur, and the Islamari were, basically creating force bubbles so that they weren't detected by the Vornskers.
Right.
And stuff. So, feeling like, oh God, I can't really connect to the force because there's nothing here.
That's right. Yeah. Just feels like life is gone. Like there's just no connection to life at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, just having, a Sith learning how to drain the force to become all powerful, like it was a little bit off for me as well. But, I think it was done for dramatic, I guess you can say. And also to allude that there was immortality, but the Sith are trying to find it. It's a lost art and no one could, because this information got destroyed somewhere along the way. And I get that they were trying to, build something on that within the story and stuff. Yeah. But it's still kind of off. And I agree with you.
I thought that for me, the part that was off was the other Sith lords being concerned with that level of destruction.
Exactly.
That was for like not the actual destruction. I thought that part was pretty cool, but it was then, oh yeah, we got to stop this guy because we can't let people do this. Like, well, I would have thought that like Scourge would have been like, man, I got to learn how to do that. Like, would have seemed a little bit more Sith-like for me, that they'd want that power for themselves.
Ultimate power.
Yeah.
Yeah. This was interesting for me, as well as some of the Darth Bane and the other ones, because in Revenge of the Sith, I remember thinking, Palpatine is so full of crap. He's just playing Anakin. Like, oh yeah, I heard of someone called Plagueis who, could keep people from dying. And I thought, Anakin, you are so dumb if you believe a word of what he says. Well, apparently he wasn't.
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah, so it's very interesting. So I think this is like encouraging me more and more to do a Sith evolution type of video. So I wrote down some notes already for that.
Very cool.
Yeah, I have like so much. Awesome. I want to do this and that and this and that. Like right now, as I'm taking a break, I'm doing too much lore on my video right now because of school. I have this whole list. So the very first video I'm going to get out is my Dark Forces versus Rogue One video. That should be fun.
Nice.
So, yeah. All right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I'm excited. Yeah. So that's in the make right now. Like I'm slowly writing the notes and getting everything in order and stuff for that. So there's a lot of, coincidences and stuff. There's a lot. So, all right. So, basically, that, they, Scourge doesn't want the Emperor to have that much power. So he starts, I guess you could say, maybe turning on the Dark Council. So he turns on the Dark Council basically. And he doesn't believe, even though he believes that, Sith should be able to have power and rule over the universe or the galaxy or what have you, not in that manner. So that's a little bit off, but I guess like if someone's that powerful, it doesn't give anybody a chance to rise or kill that person. So maybe that's the problem.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah. With someone who has unlimited power, unlimited life, then, that's going to make other Sith pissed, basically, because you want to be able to off the person and take control. And so that's my only explanation for that. And so basically, they capture Revan. And so Revan's under, basically their prisoner. And then we get years past, T3 and 4 returns to Bastilla Shan on Coruscant and helped by the exile, Jedi exile Mitra Surik. And so the librarian does blame Revan for Mitra's fall, I guess you can say as well, And so I thought that was very staunch and very pissy of her to do that to him. You know, instead of celebrating like someone coming back and returning back as a Jedi from going dark, that should be something celebrated.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
because that's a second chance.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's how I see that. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
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 And
Well, like redemption's supposed to be a good thing. Right?
Exactly.
And not something to be frowned upon.
Mhm. Yeah. And then so Mitra and Bastila learn from T3 that the Sith, long though extinct, are somehow involved in Revan's disappearance. So they think after the Mandalorian Wars and all that stuff that the Sith are gone. So we have another period of like the Sith are extinct kind of deal. You know, and I've had someone tell me, you know, this is just another rehash of Luke's arc with Revan. So I don't know if you guys got that. Some people have said that to me, like you, because, you know, Revan, you know, he gets somehow redeemed. It's like Anakin, Luke again. And the Sith were thought extinct, but now they're not kind of deal, you know. So someone, you know, kind of pointed that out to me. Did you guys see that?
Yeah. I didn't think of that at the time.
Uh-huh. Now that
I mean, it's there. Like it's not wrong.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think it's still different enough. I mean, it is Star Wars, so it it kind of has a familiar kind of vibe to it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. And you know, I think, yeah, it's a very different story. The whole plot, everything is different. There are instances that, you know, are similar, but it's not the same. I've never seen it the same. And it just shares how much the Jedi haven't evolved and how much the Sith has evolved. That's how I see it.
yeah.
So
That's an interesting compare contrast.
Yeah. And then so if you read back into the Old Republic, you realize, oh yeah, Yoda was right. They failed to evolve, but the Sith has. This is the struggle of the Sith. And then, you know, so like I said, we get the evolution of the Sith all the way to the one Sith, which is like in Legacy comics. So very, very, very interesting.
Yeah.
So, so a little breakthrough there for those who didn't.
There we go. Everyone goes, ooh, ah. Like now I'm like, well, dang.
Yeah, so if you haven't had a chance to really sit down and think about that, and like, you know, Revenge of the Sith is like this, like Kenobi and Revenge of the Sith are my go-to novels. Like when I'm painting or doing stuff around the house, I'll play them on my Audible because they're that good. They are that good.
Yeah.
And so just knowing exactly like Yoda's like aha moments, like I failed because I failed to evolve the Jedi. That's that. And then also too, saying Luke and Leia are basically going to be the ones who bring back the Jedi, the Jedi in the New Order. Good stuff.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Really good stuff. You know, we don't get that kind of verbiage. We get some inklings of it in the movie, but once you read the novel, it's like, whoa, it's like a great companion. It's like, I think it's better than the movie. Honestly, I do.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yes, and it's a shame. So basically, so they find out that Revan is taken hostage, taken as a prisoner, and so she basically sends Mitra after Revan, and so Mitra and T3 return to Nathema, where she finds the location of Dromod Kaas, the Sith homeworld. So at the time, that's the Sith homeworld. There she meets with Scourge and the Sith Lord, whose image T3 and 4 managed to record holographically at the time of Revan's capture. So basically, you know, T3 basically got to show, you know, Revan being caught and, you know, having Bastila see that. And that must have been devastating.
Right.
You know?
Yes.
And so this is like 3 years later. And so she sends a message off to T3, I guess, for Revan to see of her and of their son. So it's kind of heartbreaking. It's like as we get further in here, it's heartbreaking. It's crazy. So and it's like
when I saw her talking about how his son with the long hair and he's 3 years old, he's never seen him, I was just like, holy crap, this is terrible.
Yes, it's like we
didn't notice it. I guess I don't know what planet I was on, and I was just like, wait, 3 years? Wait, 3? He missed the baby's birth. He missed all of this.
Yeah. Well, you got to have that good Greek tragedy stuff in Star Wars, you know?
Oh, I know. And then it gets worse. And then it gets worse.
Yeah, it does. Oh my God, it's getting emotional. It's like it gets, as you further you get along with Revan's capture and him, getting to see his son and what happens after, and then the epilogue. Oh my God, it's just heartbreaking. Okay, so we're getting to that. We are getting to that. In the years since Revan's imprisonment, Scourge has been meeting with the Jedi Knight and has learned secrets of the Force from Revan. So Revan's very strong in the Force, very, very strong. And I've seen people say that Revan is stronger than Anakin. What do you guys think?
No.
No?
Yeah, I wouldn't have thought that.
Okay. Because
he's strong because he got the both, right? So you got the good light side and the dark side experience.
Yeah.
So
I mean, a lot of learning and a growth from that. So I guess you could say that wait to the strength or whatever, and learning your boundaries as a Jedi now, like kind of like Luke in a sense. Now there is a great comparison between him and Luke.
Yeah,
experience some sort of like meeting within the dark side and delving within the dark side or being dark side and learning your limitations.
Yeah, the Luke didn't go as deep at all as Revan did for obvious reasons. But you see, for me, Anakin was just raw power. So I guess when I say more powerful, I mean just nobody could kick his butt. Even the Emperor, correct me if I'm wrong. Mm-hmm. He was more powerful than the Emperor.
Who, Luke?
No, Vader.
Vader.
Anakin.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. At his prime, I think, he could have definitely taken him out for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Even with Anakin's loss of, I guess you could say, of midichlorians after, the Battle of Mustafar and stuff and losing his limbs, he was still significantly more powerful than the Emperor.
Yeah.
Yep.
The Emperor just played him so well that
he was
able to keep him in that. Yeah.
Yeah, he had the smarts because he's a politician. He knew how to psychologically manipulate people because we've seen that. He manipulated Jar Jar and Padme because, like after, when she decided she needed to leave and Jar Jar was put in her spot, you really look into that movie. He really staged it so that, and Jar Jar is very impressionable.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That was well played with that situation because then he ended up, approving of the plan or the bill or whatever that Padme was against.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mm-hmm. Well, and looking in the Phantom Menace, she was a child at the end of the day, and he was able to play her too, to get her to do the vote of no confidence against Valorum.
Yep, exactly. I was like, don't do it, Padme. You're being played.
Stop it.
I caught on to that.
This is why kids shouldn't be in politics.
Yes.
Good reason.
Age 16. Okay. Anyways, no, we're not going down that road, but I just thought that's lived, but that's okay. All right. So basically we have, Scourge meeting with the Jedi and he's learning from Revan. And so that they can go ahead and, destroy the Emperor. And he became convinced that Revan holds the key to stopping the ruler's plans. Scourge needs to rescue Revan from Nyrus's prison and allies with Mitra at the end. So basically, even though he still is dark, and I'm thinking he's trying to do this for his own plans as well. There's always that Sith always has a motivation and a self-motivation rather than outwardly motivation. And that's what I have always gotten with the Sith. No matter how they say they are thinking of the galaxy, they're thinking of themselves even more. That's why I can't wait to have a discussion with Lethal about Darth Plagueis. Because he's like, so that's going to be a good one. And so Scourge reveals the Emperor Nyrus's plot against him, presenting him with the evidence of her treachery. So the Emperor orders the Imperial Guard to strike against Nyrus. And so we're getting into the climax of this all, using the chaos of this reprisal as reprisal as cover, Scourge and Mitra free Revan, but are nearly stopped by Nyrus. So they do free him, and that's basically when he gets to see the image of his child and stuff. And which is heartbreaking because I wish I had my novel because that's another spot that I have marked.
Oh, so, yes. Well, for crying out loud,
Yeah.
Gosh, and he's like saying hi, Daddy, and it's his
Yeah.
birthday.
Yeah. And I do have the Audible. And I was thinking about today, I was thinking of, before we started the stream, I was thinking about just going and clipping those spots and playing them. But I've gotten my channel strike from some of the Audibles because of
Yeah.
So I was like, all right. So, but yeah, that was very heartbreaking because like even the image that you see from the comics or whatever, there's the image of him, and let me pull it up. Revan.
Well, and it's such a powerful scene because it comes right after like this big giant epic battle to like take out Darth Nihilus.
Yeah.
You know, and so he's got his Revan mask back on, and he puts the mask on, and then boom, all of his memories come back, and he's like just this unstoppable powerhouse.
Yeah.
And then he pulls the mask off, and under the mask, he's just this broken man. You know, who's been a prisoner for 3 years. Life has gone on. It's just, I just thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Let me see here. I'm going to pull it.
Oh, yeah. It was devastating.
Yeah. Like you put the mask on and you're this powerhouse. You take the mask off and you're this broken shell.
Yeah. Now, it's interesting. That was one of those moments that I was almost taken outside of the story because of the stupid Mandalorian show. Because the character, I forget what her name was, Dak Nabbit, but herself, she was like, why isn't he taking off the mask? And I'm like, curse you, Mandalorian, because then that made me think of that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Was it Bo-Katan or was it the sidekick?
No, Bo-Katan said that to.
Oh, because he's one of those crazy religious
making fun
ones.
of him, making fun of him for not taking it off, and the fact that not taking off the mask was a whole thing, which it wasn't. But again, nobody's fault. It just took me out of the story for a second. I'm like, darn it.
Yeah. It's and I Stig has said this to me, and I'm pretty sure you might have heard this too, Teresa and Rev, that you know, like the more that he hears more about Disney, Star Wars, and like the contradictions and all this other stuff, the more it puts it turns him off when he goes back to the original lore, because then he can't stop seeing or imagining, you know, the new lore versus the original lore, like what you stated with the masks be taken off and all that other stuff. You know, and so that led him a little bit frustrated, and I get it. I do. Me, on the other hand, I'm like, that's bullshit. You know, this is the original lore. This is where my heart's at. So that is irrelevant to what I'm showing you here, kind of deal. So I've learned to disassociate Disney.
Yeah. Right.
Well, and it took a while, and I'm practically there where I truly do not even remember the sequel trilogy. I've gotten there in my head, and
there was a sequel
I've just erased it. Yeah, the sequel trilory. Yeah, in the sense of that. Well, exactly. Oh, I see what you're doing there. My gosh. My gosh, Reverend. But for reals, because for the longest time it was so upsetting, and then I started rereading like Heir to the Empire and all of those, so I've been able to brainwash myself into those sequels are nothing more than a blip of fan fiction.
And that's what you got to do. But be careful if you mention that on Twitter. Oh boy, you know, be careful to be raided by those Disney Star Wars trolls, because then you basically stab them in the heart, and you're gatekeeping. All this.
I just ignore those people. I don't engage, and they do go away because they're looking for a reaction.
Yeah, they want to be validated. They want to be noticed, and all of that. And I still have to kind of learn. I'm still learning to ignore some of it, but some of them I'm just like, I can't help it. You know, so it's like I'm learning.
Oh, I know it's tempting. I learned a little while ago with a different fandom. I was observing it, the anthropologist in me, because my business partner at the time kept engaging with them. I can't believe you're saying this. And I finally realized, you just realized that nobody even knew who this person was with 30 subs or 30 Twitter people. And you just amplified their stupid tweet out to 89,000 people. Well done. You know, and then it was like, oh yeah, there's a reason why they're picking fights so that you'll amplify them.
Yeah, exactly. For the
That's my digression of the day. That's my digression of the day.
There you go.
Great point. Great point. The more you ignore them, the less they are valid.
Yep.
So yeah, so great
Yeah,
point.
and then they get street cred, and then they go, look, yay! I got someone to get mad at me. I got one of these people. Now I'm a hero. And it's like, don't give it to them.
Gatekeepers and this and that, kind of deal. Yeah. So yeah, it's. I'm at the point too where, like with Stig, it's like I've had enough. I've made my points valid and they're actually factual, like especially like with George Lucas on the EU and stuff. And there's nothing else to say because people can't learn. They're not going to want to learn, even if tell them, hey, this is the evidence and this is 2017 and this is what George said about the EU kind of deal. It's just like they don't want to learn. They don't, they just want to go ahead and for whatever reason have, stick with the Disney Star Wars validation kind of bullcrap. So anyways, let's get out of this conversation. Something that's better, and so basically Revan's raw power in the Force bends Nyrus's Sith lightning back. So basically, in their conflict, after he gets freed by Scourge and Mitra, they have their conflict, and so she shoots lightning at him, and he uses, his Force powers or Force ability to, have lightning go back at Nyrus. And so I thought that was very interesting. And I'm like, how come we never seen this before? We did see Yoda absorb it and then shoot it back at Sidious. And then again absorb it and after the fact in Revenge of the Sith. So if that's what they're describing, then Yoda did use that. So because he took it, he absorbed it a little bit and he pushed it back at Sidious.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So I thought that was very much interesting. I'm like, why couldn't we have seen that more? And I don't think
that's a good point.
Yeah, I don't think I recall reading Luke ever doing that, using the saber to deflect it back. And that's it. So
Anakin did it in episode 2, and I think Luke did it in a couple of books too.
Yeah, exactly.
That's all I can think of. Yeah.
And my guess is that we learned that every Jedi has their own abilities. So not everybody has the same abilities. Like Corran Horn is a great example. He doesn't have telekinesis. So so every Jedi has their strength and weaknesses when it comes to Force abilities.
Right. But they sure use Force lightning a lot.
Yes, exactly. Force lightning.
That one could be dropped a little bit. It's like, you'd think every Jedi would be trained to deal with Force lightning because they all use it.
Yeah,
it's always coming up.
Lesson number 1 in fighting Sith: lightning. Let's start there in your Jedi training.
Yeah.
Yes.
I would think that they would train Luke to deflect the lightning because basically Yoda experienced that before.
Yeah, Obi-Wan got hit by it, so it's okay. Let's start here because if you're gonna fight this guy, he's gonna hit you with this.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And reading the novelization or maybe the comics or something when it come to Luke when he was getting hit by the Force lightning, that in the beginning, because he was still weak, oh my God, Luke weak in the Force and using it. There's such thing as a progression, right? In your training, right?
Right. Yep.
Yeah. He did learn how to absorb it in a sense, but because he was weak and in the moment and stuff like that, that he couldn't hold on to it that long. That's why the Emperor overtook him with the Force lightning.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's that.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, there's such thing as being at stages when you're learning and you're training, right? Compared to what we've seen before and the new stuff. So yeah, so I digress from that. And so basically, again, Revan gets to see Bastila and his now 3-year-old son, which we just talked about. And his name is Vaynor. So Vaynor. So again, that's why I got confused with the name. Because remember I said, wasn't Revan's name, like this guy's name Vaynor? No, but that's his son's name. And I guess again, it's a remix of words or letters in the name of Revan.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Oh,
and the Emperor,
yeah. Oh, sorry. I mean,
you're such a sensi.
Teresa's heart's going to start melting because we're going to come up to all of this now.
Oh, and
I and I wanted to play on Audible, like I said, but I don't want my channel to get a strike. Of the last the epilogue with with Bastilla talking with her son. That is such like even
that's horrible.
That's so sad. It's like horrible, like in such a tragic way. So the Emperor, meanwhile, destroys all 12 Dark Counselors. The Dark Council. Sorry.
All of them. Mark with a C, Abu Nas, Fatal J, Drunk 3PO. If I'm missing anyone, I'm sorry. Oh, Damanjanai, yeah.
Yeah.
Or maybe there are left of them, because remember there's 12 and now we have 4. Sorry, I had to go there.
There you go.
So,
boy, that's talk about getting yourself in trouble.
All right, and so basically, he destroys all 12 dark counselors to send a message against anyone who would plot against him. So basically, that's and then what he does in Revan is determined to keep the galaxy safe for his child. And so Teresa's heart's going to start melting here. Scourge, Mitra,
baby.
Emperor's citadel and challenge the supreme ruler. The Emperor power is too much for Revan, recognizing that the Emperor is undefeatable because, of course, he is immortal. Scourge kills Mitra and betrays Revan. Even though he does that, he still wants to defeat the Emperor because he thinks he's too powerful. So what do you guys think about that?
It caught me by surprise.
Okay.
It really did. Because, I mean, you knew the Sith are scummy and and you couldn't trust Scourge. But I was actually surprised that actually went down that way. Because, again, there's such a strong redemption story all throughout Star Wars. And so here you've got Revan who's turned. It's like, man, like, is this Scourge guy going to turn? And that's actually what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
So, which might have been too predictable, but that's what I thought was going to happen.
Yeah.
So, so it kind of
sorry.
shocked me just on how it all kind of went down like that. And because it's like, man, they're winning. Like, they're winning. And then scrap. Nope, we're not doing this.
Yeah. Well, I think that didn't he sense though that they weren't going to win, so he was.
Well, because he had that vision, right? So he had
so he's hedging his bets. He was like, "Oh, oops!"
And he's never had a vision of the future before.
Yeah.
And so, and he didn't understand the concept of, well, always in motion is the future, so it may not be the actual future.
Yeah.
But he didn't trust the Force enough or whatever, and just got, no, this is it, and I can't do it.
Yeah, he let it mess with his mind in the same way that Anakin let that happen.
Absolutely. Yeah, great point.
Yeah. And this goes back to what I said is like the Sith, they think about themselves more than they think outwardly. And this kind of is exactly what's happening here. He does see the vision. He does want to defeat the Emperor, but then, he's going to do everything he can in the end to probably benefit for himself. That's how I've seen that scene. Scourge tells the Emperor that he had plotted to. So this is what he tells the Emperor. This is saving his own ass. He had plotted to expose these assassins once he realized he alone would not be powerful enough to stop them.
Right.
The Emperor believes Scourge and rewards him with the title of Emperor's Wrath. So now he's working from the inside. He staged himself to the inside, betraying Mitra and Revan.
Yep.
So, and true Sith passion, I guess you could say. So, in truth, Scourge still thinks the Emperor must be stopped. His betrayal of the Jedi was a bid to buy himself more time. So, himself, not them, himself.
Right. Yep.
Selfish SOBs.
They do.
On the other hand, it's what they do.
It's what they do.
And that's what I was going to get the point at. They're all about themselves, and even though they evolved and stuff, they're all about themselves, personally about themselves. And that's the difference between the Jedi and the Sith. The Jedi are on the opposite, where they're selfless. The Sith are selfish.
Right.
Yeah.
One craves power, one doesn't want that power and wants freedom and peace for everybody. So so we have those two different those contrasting groups right there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, in truth, again, that like I said, that Scourge thinks that the Emperor must be stopped. He betrayed his betrayal of the Jedi was a bid to buy himself more time. Revan languishes in the Sith prison, mentally exhibiting subtle pressure against the Emperor's mind to keep the Dark Ruler from tracking or attacking the Republic. So basically, he stays in there for like 50 years, because when we get to the prologue of the book, it's like 50 years later. And he is playing mind games with the Emperor so that peace can still remain for his family and everybody in the galaxy.
Yeah. Which is crazy.
I mean, how can it's
awesome.
trying to keep up that kind of mental, because he's like, he's imprisoned. And even though he's like, further from the Emperor, I think his imprisonment is in a different place than the Emperor. He's still using the Force to manipulate and without being caught at that, manipulating the Emperor so that the galaxy can see peace, at least for as long as he can keep that going.
Yeah. Though I can see why he might do that, because he's in a losing situation. So at least he can say, well, at least maybe I can do this much. It's just really sad that that's how his life ends, is a desperate, perhaps, hope that maybe something good's going to come out of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, that's that selflessness, right, of the Jedi. It's not about his life.
Mm-hmm.
So he's going to stay like in a drugged up stupor in prison.
Yeah.
For the remainder of his days, but battling kind of on a Force level to keep the galaxy safe.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It was pretty cool. Didn't expect it at all. Like again, it wasn't your typical happy Hollywood ending.
It's not a happy ending whatsoever. It's so sad.
No.
I'll get into that. So Teresa, prepare yourself. Grab your tissues. Because I was like, it was very emotional. I was like, oh my God. But maybe this is just a woman thing. I don't know. As it is, the emperor is preoccupied with securing the Sith Empire. So he's trying to rebuild it, because basically his Dark Council was taken down. And, of course, rebuilding the Dark Council and rooting out traitors. So that helps, Revan a little bit more on manipulating him through the Force. And in this way, peace lasts for another 50 years. And so we're getting to the ending, to the epilogue.
Mm-hmm.
Bastila and Revan's child, Vaynor, grows into an influential man of politics with children of his own. And at this time, I think he was, running for senator. And so this epilogue takes place within Bastila and Revan's anniversary, because, every anniversary, from what I got from the story, that he goes by his mom's side, because, she's still mourning in a sense, not knowing if Revan's alive or not.
Yeah.
And now they have grandchildren at this point. I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. Well, and how horrible that not having the closure. Like, if he'd have died, at least she might have had some closure with it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's what makes it so hard and so difficult to read.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And Shane Nolan says, not a woman thing, I was touched myself. And so the thing is, like, people are like, oh, I don't like how they did the book because of the game, blah, blah, blah. Like, if you even give it a chance of like exploring the story, even towards the end, and his sacrifice to have peace, not only for his family and stuff, but for the galaxy. That's touching. And that's very Jedi right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And it was actually cool. I was just kind of double checking it here in the book. It wasn't just that he was running for senator. His mother was saying that you could actually become Supreme Chancellor.
Oh, okay, that's right. Yeah, I don't have the book in front of me now. So yeah, that's right. Oh,
and the mother's like, like, you're joking around that you don't want it, but if you wanted that post, you could have it.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and cue the Emperor music. Da, da, da. So you could be Supreme Chancellor. I love democracy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Correct. And Shane Nolan, that son, the senator, his granddaughter became a Jedi and Grandmaster, yes, of the Order. She appears in the Old Republic trailers. Yes, she does. Yep. And so that goes on. So everything, like continuity, there is such thing as continuity, right? And then Sola, Revan's great-grandchildren have strong connection to the Force, Bastila says. Yes. It skipped a generation, too. Because have Force sensitivity, like to be a Jedi. So that's why he takes the leadership, in the government side. Yeah. So, So overall, because like I said, this epilogue, is, and even in the last part of the book before the epilogue, and just hearing and reading about Revan, manipulating the Emperor and stuff like that, that's emotional as it is, and then reading again like 50 years after the fact, with his wife and the son and the grandchildren and stuff like that, it's like, oh, it kind of gives you like a punch in the heart a little bit, and so Teresa, what would you rate this book if you give it any rating? What did you feel about this book? How did you feel about it?
Oh, dang. That's a tough one, because I have some very mixed feelings about this book as a whole. I could say that the ending was fantastic. It had a very strong emotional hit to me about how it all came together. But I was a bit annoyed through a good deal of it. And I don't know if it was because I was just confused, because I wasn't quite familiar with this world building the way it was. And I didn't feel a connection to Revan at all until the end.
Yeah.
And all of that. So the first part I wasn't too crazy about. So to be fair, I'll give it a 7 out of 10 for now. I may reread it and I might have a more favorable impression now that I understand the big picture. I think I was just having some trouble with the world building just because I'm not too familiar with it.
Yeah. It
could interfered a bit with my enjoyment of reading it.
Yeah, like if you haven't played the game, there might be some things that are like, oh, wait a minute. Like Rev Kev said that he had to go back and reread like the first few chapters to capture that feeling and stuff. And I get it, because when something's tied to that, like Forces Unleashed, the novels are tied to the game too. And, and sometimes if you're not too familiar with the games, then sometimes reading the actual novel that's canon, you might not get a few things. Or it might take a few read or two just to like, oh, okay, whatever. And I don't think that was the author's intention. Like you have to play this to understand that. But I think because he was trying to put in the world building that happened in the game, and it happened so quickly, like Rev Kit said, he had to go back and read it a little bit, retrace. And I think that might be the disconnect right there. Without, and it was, and I'm guessing it's not Drew's intention to create a disconnect. I think he was trying to write it well enough so you didn't have to play the game, like information in there so you're caught up as well. So that could have been, so that's my take on that.
Yeah, no, for sure. Yeah. Yes. And I'm not sure if that's the fault of him so much as it's just something that now that I'm feeling like I'm touching my feet on the ground, I can maybe go back and enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. And so Rev Kev, so go ahead and give your rating or your thoughts upon the novel.
Yeah, I think similarly, like Teresa just said, it's a difficult novel as a standalone because there is a lot of stuff that feels like it got fed from something else, or that it's going to something else. Like even as I finished this, I'm like, okay, well, so what book am I supposed to read next? Because like, where does all the Mandalorian stuff go? What do I have to find to read that? So there's a lot of things built in this book that don't finish in this book, which in a way is cool, but it didn't give a clear path of where to go next for me. But I love the Sith stuff, like Scourge. I thought was really cool. I liked him a lot.
Darth Scrooge.
Yeah, exactly. I like Scrooge. I really connected with Scrooge.
Yeah.
Waiting for the ghost to show up, but I guess maybe that's the next book. I like the Sith Emperor. I thought that was an interesting character. I liked all the political stuff with the Sith. I thought that was interesting. Would have liked a little bit more of the Mandalorian stuff, but it wasn't a book about that, so I get it. And it had a lot of surprises for me. It didn't end the way I expected it.
Yeah.
So for me, that made it a good read once I figured out where I was.
Yeah,
it was a little tricky at the beginning. So for me, this is a good 8 out of 10. It's a great Star Wars book.
Yeah.
If you had a background and if you kind of knew more of the Old Republic, you might enjoy it more.
Yeah.
But it's not a book. I don't think I would recommend this one as a starting point for people.
Oh no! I think like
No.
in that era of the Old Republic, Darth Bane, which is basically the last. I think might be the last in that era.
Right.
That's a good start because then you understand the rule of two. You understand the evolution of the Sith that leads up to the era of the Empire and stuff like that. You know, Sidious and stuff.
And those are the only Old Republic books I've read is the Darth Bane trilogy. So yeah.
And if you want to understand like how the Sith have been fighting amongst each other and get to the point where Bane comes to the conclusion, then the novel before that is a great read.
Right.
So that's how I see that. For myself, I rather enjoyed it. I liked a little bit of the Mandalorian, like retracking the Mandalorian history with a Jedi a little bit because it gives you more understanding why there's such a hate of Jedi from the Mandalorians. Then it goes into like Jango and how he was selected as the imprint, the print of the clones, basically. And then it goes to Boba Fett and why he hates the Jedi even more because Mace Windu kills his father, so it treads into that a little bit. The evolution, we see a little bit evolution of the Mandalorian as well from what we see in the way future with Boba Fett becoming Mandalore and all that. So I think that's a great thing as well. Again, I haven't played the game, so I'm coming in kind of brand new. I understood, I knew Revan, I understood some of his history and stuff through my own research and everything. But coming into it without playing the game and stuff, I think it gave me a better impact towards Revan's character than me, playing the game. And that's just my perspective on that. And so it wasn't necessarily disconnect. I do understand that, the beginning was kind of like off a little bit because it's shoehorning in a lot of world building from the game that people like me who haven't played it could understand it, which I can see how that could be a disconnect as well, from what Teresa noted. So myself, I really enjoyed the novel. I think it's a great read. I normally don't give rating systems and stuff, but I do agree with you, Rev, that it's an 8 out of 10. So I really, really enjoyed it. And I do recommend it, but please read Darth Bane first, the trilogy, and then go.
Yeah.
So,
and for sure, don't EU, not at all. It's like, no, do not.
Yeah, exactly. And let me see here. Cavatinho Che forgot to fully proofread my comment. Oh, he must have said something and made a mistake. Let me see here. Cavatinho, be interesting in a game perspective to see what the alternate ending would be possible and how to achieve them. So I don't know what you meant by that. Forgot to fully proofread okay. So I don't know what you're leading upon and what errors you made. So maybe if you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit more what you meant by your mistakes. Soul Assassin, Tales of the Jedi, the KOTOR comics would be a good start into the Old Republic, my honest opinion. Yes, that probably may be too, because they do have some great comics in the Old Republic as well. In fact, John Jackson Miller, remember, he had that campaign on getting the comic in so that's a great one to start as well. I mean, either way, but Darth Bane, if you're going to get into the novels section, start with Darth Bane trilogy. So
am I correct that they even actually have Revan in the comics, that there's more Revan stories in the comics around this era?
I believe so, because we have this image right here, which is a comic image.
Okay, it is. Okay, so maybe if I were to read those too, maybe that would also help.
Yeah. And then Soul Sass said, Django is being chosen in another game. Funny how books and games help build the Star Wars lore. Exactly. So like even when you get games and they're like somewhat canon because how you play is not exactly how it happens, because you get a choice of how, if you want to be light or dark, and if how you want to end the game. And some of the games, it's still interconnected some way, somehow. So, and that's what I like about that. And so it's unfortunate I refrained myself from using Twitter OG Star Wars. If there was any other way to contact you, I would send you a test into our introduction to your live chat to see what you think. Okay, we will discuss that here soon. I'll put my email down into the description so you can get a hold of me there. Let's see here. So we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up. Like I said, I'm going off to the coast for the evening, dinner date kind of deal. So after we're done here, we're going to take off. So Teresa, go ahead and tell us where we can find you.
Well, you can find me here on YouTube under Miss Martin Muses, where I talk about what makes me laugh, makes me cry, makes me happy, makes me sad, or just really ticks me off. Today is Catterday, so that will be my next one, and that always makes me very happy. You can also find me on Twitter, Teresa2_Martin, and on Monday nights, I am doing a Song of Ice and Fire book club with Sporking, and you can see me around on Open Airlocks EU University, as well as his Babylon 5 series.
Mm-hmm. Yes. In fact, we're coming up this month. What day is it? The 14th?
I believe it is.
That will be on for EU chats with him on his channel. So, and I will be there as well. So, Rev Kev, tell us where we can find you.
Yes, you can find me on my YouTube channel if you just search for Rev Kev. And what I tend to do is, because I got kind of like a whole bunch of other people, just kind of tired of where Star Wars was going. So I've gone back to the things I love about Star Wars, and I do videos about that, particularly Star Wars gaming, like the role-playing game, the miniature games, Star Wars Legion, Star Wars X-Wing, and the expanded universe. So I'm just having fun with Star Wars again, which is a great feeling. And you can also find me on Twitter and even on TikTok.
Awesome. And that's what this is all about. This is what my channel is about, is having fun with Star Wars and the original lore and sharing what we love. Absolutely. And that's the same with Tim. And again, like on the 14th, we'll be on there to talk EU as well. And this Thursday, again, I will have Lethal Lightning on here, and we'll discuss Jason Solo / Darth Plagueis. And so it's going to be a very interesting topic. And so I suggest you guys, if you love Jason Solo, or even if you're just curious about him, come in and participate in the chat when we discuss that on EU, Talking EU, special edition on Coffee Chat next Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And again, I will post what books we're going to read. Actually, it's going to be voting. So I'll post the 4 books to vote on and which one will be next on literature review within 6 to 8 weeks, just to give everybody a chance to get the books and read them and listen to them, what have you. So that will be posted probably by tomorrow, since I'm going on a little trip today. So thank you guys for coming in, and thank you for my panel. It's always fun to sit and nerd out and talk about these topics. Always a pleasure. Yes, that's how I feel. It's like, it's over. It's over. I'm so sorry. Yeah. But we always...
Oh, no. Wait, that sounded wrong. Did you misunderstand? No, I mean, in a yay is in a celebration. I mean, I love this stuff.
I know what you meant. On
okay.
It's over. No.
I could go on for hours and talk.
Yeah.
The truck is shutting me up.
That's so funny. All right. So thank you guys again to the panelists, and thank you guys for coming into the chat. Catch us on the replay. I think you guys will enjoy the conversation and some of the breakthroughs that we had with this novel as well. Very interesting. Always a great time. And may the force be with you all.